Hi guys, nice to see you here again. As usual, we wait about 1 minute and check if everything works fine. Please check the sound, please check the video. If everything works well, please write a little bit in the chat. Okay, so we can start today. Start today's webinar, and I think I will start from a little bit of preliminary information about why do we run this kind of webinar. The thing is that we are talking to a lot of people like who would like to get the BOQ. BOQ is bill of quantity, if anyone does not know this, and to do the specification for home automation devices, this is not an easy thing. So we are talking to a lot of people, getting a lot of calculations, and we see a lot of people doing it a little bit wrong. So we decided to make this webinar to explain how to do it better, and maybe to give you some advices of your job. Okay, so if you do a lot of calculations, I hope this webinar will help you. So today's plan is we are going to see the stages, like what kind of stages do we have, and then we look at how we do first quick BOQ, and then how we get additional details and what kind of additional details do we need, and then final BOQ. And the main thing in here from this plan is to understand that the first quick BOQ is not the final BOQ. These are different things. Okay, so let's go to stages. What kind of stages of specification do we have? We have traditional stages. Traditional ones are the stages which we would like to have all the time, but do not have all the time, unfortunately. What are traditional stages? So first, quotation. Client comes and we do the quotation itself. And client says, please, like how much would this home automation be for me? And you say, what kind of house do you have? I have like apartment with 3 bedrooms, something like this. And you say, previously we had like many apartments for 3 bedrooms and automation costed there, let's say 20,000 dirhams, something like this. And then we go for payment for engineering design. So client says, okay, what do we do next? You say, I will, for this 3-bedroom apartment, I will get, let's say, 5,000 dirhams for project for engineering design. And client pays you, and then you do this project and design, and it is done. So what you did were quite a lot of documents. You investigated like what kind of lighting is here, what kind of wall is here, and how do we get this cable from here to here, and many other things. And then we get everything final, and we get final BOQ. Final BOQ we have only after client signs technical task for design and engineering design itself gives you interior design, and you understand like all lighting groups, you understand all connections, absolutely everything. So once you have done this, you get the final BOQ and client pays you for the equipment. So this is like ideal. Usually this project design job is something like 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, and for different projects it could take different time, but this is really important if it is done. But reality is usually not so good. So reality looks like this. These are stages for do it fast, like 90% of projects. So first stage is like first quotation. And we make this first assumption, like this would cost 20,000 or maybe 30,000 plus job plus something else. And then client says, okay, take my money, but do everything like turnkey. It is hard to resist, you know. Usually people take this money, even they understand that this is just something which is in our mind. So at this stage, this is imagination. So we imagined it could be like this and said this sum of money. And he gave us money, and it means we need to do this. And then we get more details and we understand that it is not like this. This is a little bit different, sometimes much different than you expected. So to really successfully work do it fast stages, you need to tell person who pays you at first quotation that it will be changed. It will most likely be changed. They will be scared. They will say like how much, like maybe 5 times it will change. And you can say based on your experience, maybe after 2-3 projects you understand this, that it could be maybe 20% difference, maybe 30% difference, something like this. And also client can tell you some new things. And he said, I forgot, I wanted this. You say, okay, it will cost a little bit more. So tell him that after you get more details, and this payment will not be final, the first one, you will get the final BOQ after you get more details, and then you will get some additional payment, because there could be something which you could forget. Okay? So now let's get to the first BOQ and the quick one. The quick one is made not to scare people. So the main idea is not to scare. If you scare people at this stage, you do not get your project. Yes? So at first stage, you need to show client that this is not so hard. This is quite simple. And you should use, for first quick BOQs, you should use like a little bit cheaper solutions. So good working solutions, but you probably know that you could use something which is expensive and something which is not expensive. If client says, how much would it cost? You just use this not expensive and warn client. So first question is, what do we include? So for example, we have the apartment and client says, let's calculate. You go on this cycle, like for every room you get light, what is light control in this room, and then climate, what is AC control in this room, maybe something else like ventilation and humidity, and then security, like what do we control, windows, doors, motion sensors, presence sensors, and then media, what kind of music do we have, what kind of televisions do we control or not, what kind of signal with HDMI do we get from one place to another. And then how do we control all these control devices? Maybe you remember the webinar for control devices. So almost on everything you have now information. maybe except of light. We probably need to have lighting control the next webinar. So we had the webinar for AC control, we had a webinar and a good video for security and for media, and for control devices also we had. So all this you should already understand, and you should understand how to make a quick BOQ. So automatic calculator is what we have. So you select rooms, then you get quotation. Now let's look at some kind of plan. So let's look at the simple plan with something. So now you can see a simple plan with a simple, I think this is not even 2-bedroom, this is something like the first floor of some kind of villa with 2 entrances. Okay, and we have here lighting design, and this is what we actually need for lighting understanding. We get here and we see, so this is the group of light. We need to count these groups. So if you see here, for example, S1, it means this is a switch with a 1 button. You see D3, it means this is a dimmer which controls 3 groups. One group, this one, another group, this one, another group, this one. But we do not need actually these connections. So usually we have the connection to the switch or to the dimmer, but in our solution we have the connection to dB. So all lights will go to dB, and this is just a setting of what do we control from each place. So we count these groups and we understand that this is a living room, and then maybe some kind of I don't know, dining room and other places. So how do we count this? We get these files. So what we have first is we have automatic calculator. Automatic calculator gives you this left column for rooms, and then different kinds of controlled items. So first what you do is you make a copy. You need to make a copy to some kind of your own folder, so this file works. And once you've made the copy, it will be editable. So what you do next, you press here and select what kind of items you'd like to include. For example, you include ground floor, and on the ground floor you have living room and you have bedroom. As you can see, we have this file as automatic. So for every living room we have 3 groups which are on-off. We have 1 curtain, we have 1 fan coil, 3 buttons to control these groups, and nothing else. And then you include, let's say, 3 bedroom and living room, and also some kind of bathroom, and maybe some kind of balcony or terrace. Okay, and then you go to specification. You press here on this green sign, which is the filter. You filter zeros or maybe also blanks, so you don't need any line which is 0. You press OK, and you have your price for 3 bedrooms. So this is like the most simple system for 3 bedrooms. Maybe not most, but almost. Okay. What we also have in this file is that we have some customization. For example, you don't want curtain control, but you want music zone control. What to do for every bedroom. And you want not 3 but 2 lights. You do this, you press here, you select technical sheet, and we have hidden technical sheet which gives us opportunity to change what we would like to have in each of them. So for living room we do not change, but for bedroom we will change. So we will have 2 lights, and we will not have curtains. We will have more buttons, for example, because we need switches from both sides of the bed and then on entrance. So we will have, let's say, 8 inputs. And we will also have a music zone. And then we go back to specification, to questionnaire place, and we see that all bedrooms, they became like this. They have now music, they have 8 keys, 8 buttons, inputs, and they have fan coil and 2 zones of light. Now we need to go to specification, update our filter, press OK, and it counts again. So we have this price now, because music added this. So I hope you understand this automatic one is quite fast. And the next one which we have is a little bit more specific. With this one you enter locations, and then you enter functions, and then you get the quotation. So the difference is you enter functions. Because you will sit with a client and talk about each room or look at real project, and then you will understand. So now let's move here and open this one, manual questionnaire. So the first one was automatic and this one is manual, but with this questionnaire sheet. So this one will not give you a list of rooms. You will surely need to make a copy again. So I save it to my folder. And here you sit with the client asking him, like, okay, we have living room. What do you have in living room? Let's start from light, and then go to AC, and then go to security, and then go to media, and then go to control devices. So as for light, we will have like 3 groups of light. He says this light, this and this, and maybe 2 groups dimming, and maybe curtain. And then climate and AC, we go to fan coil 1, usually that's it. Maybe some special type of AC. And then some of them, they want warm floors, and sometimes they live near mountains or have some kind of a colder seasons, so you will have a warm floor. And that's it. And then we go and have, for example, security. And as for security, we get most of the security from motion sensor and inputs with dry contact. So for example, we have 2 windows to monitor, and third window will be third place to monitor will be the door. So 2 windows and 1 door. Then we will need 3 inputs. Okay. And that's it for security. And then media, whether we want this media or not. Media here is just music zone. And then some control items, for example, 10-inch panel we want to control all the rooms from living room. So that's it. Light, climate, security, media, control devices. And control devices, we usually add some touch panels and buttons. So buttons, we already have 3 inputs, and we will have, for example, 6 buttons to control all this. So we will need 9 inputs. Okay? And then same, we go to specification, we change this, remove 0, and we have our offer. Okay? So this has now just a little bit of functions, but you see here only 3 relay lights. But we use here this device, which has 12 inputs, 12 outputs, sorry. Okay. So this is it. This is thing we call manual questionnaire. You go with your client to his different rooms and get your BOQ. So let's go next. Which jobs to include? Actually, we are not ones to tell you which jobs to include, but we have some experience, so I will have some advice. First, you will need to include projects and engineering design. Not all clients are ready to have it. That is why sometimes this is not so easy to sell it to client. But once you include this, if client pays for this, this is very good, because client does not have to pay a lot first, and client will be glad that he does not have to pay a lot for this one yet. And next thing is client will get a better project and a better home automation if he has this. And next, when he sells his apartment, for example, or his villa, if he has this project, it will be much easier to sell the villa with customized smart home system, even more expensive than typical villa or typical apartment. But if you do not have any documents of what kind of home automation is done, then it will not affect the price. Usually it will remain the normal price. Okay? So when he sells his apartment or his property, this project and engineering design will be important for him. So I would advise to include this. And then you include cabling if you do it. And to understand how much cable do you need and how much work, how much job do you need, you will need this design first. And third is control DB. So we have a control distribution board, and this is really very separate. So sometimes, for example, cabling can be done by local electricians, but control DB should be done by professional installation company. because control DB is actually everything important in this home automation. So control DB assembly and installation should be separate, and everybody counted differently. Like some people, some installers, they count it by modules, like how many modules DIN rail do we have, and some count it by the complexity, like how complex this will be. So after you have some experience, you will understand how to do this. Maybe the first one you can order from professional company. Some companies which do professional DBs, they will do it much better than the company who just starts working with home automation. So maybe order assembly of DB and the installation of DB from the higher professional company if you do not have a lot of experience. Next thing is chief supervision. So for example, you do not get your own cabling and you do not want to do cabling because you want to do only automation stuff. Then you will need to include the chief supervision. And the chief supervision can be from the engineering part or from devices part. But this is now too complex, so I will not go deeper into this. So chief supervision means that you come to a project, someone else is doing the mounting, someone else is doing a lot of things, but you are just supervising. And maybe you know this situation when you give them project, like do this, we will have home automation, we will need this light go here, and this switch should have Cat6 cable and should go here. And then you come after 1 week and they already have done all the project and everything is installed, but this is not home automation, this is just normal lighting and normal connection through the switches. And they need to redo this once again. This happened like many times in my experience, because these guys who do the cabling, they are used to do the cabling the same way, they do it the same way, and they do not bother even to read the documentation. So chief supervision is needed to control them and to make them do right thing. Okay. Next is, of course, setup programming, because once you install it, it does nothing. So even with our plug and play feature, everything will be available, but everything will be not like client wants it. So you will need to talk to client, like asking him what kind of things he would like to have in the application and put it in the rooms, and then make automation, like connect buttons to lights, to curtains, and then set up the AC control, and then set up the floor plan on the application so client can control from the floor plan, and so on. So you will need setup programming. How much does it cost? For Larnitech, the normal cost is something between 20 and 40% of the price of the equipment. So for example, you have 3-bedroom and price is 20,000. So the normal price for programming will be starting from 4,000 and maybe up to 6,000, something like this. Maybe up to 8,000 even. For example, if client wants quite a lot of functions inside, so something within this range. And then, and then you will be able to include the service. Some installers, they install a lot of projects, and they, after some time, start getting their money only on service, because people starting to call them to get the local network fine. For example, a lot of things with local network can happen, for example. And you can get quite a lot of money if a lot of projects pay you for servicing. So this could be another revenue, another stream of revenue for you. When you have done, for example, 50 projects, and maybe half of them are paying you each month for supervising not only home automation, because really home automation does not need a lot of supervising and servicing. But home automation needs the client to be calm. So, and some clients, they are ready to pay some money just to be calm that there is a guy who will help if anything happens. So usually this is just changing bulbs or connecting printers, something like this. So service per year. And the last thing, which many people, they forget. And sometimes this is like crucial thing which gets all your profit away. Transport expenses. Why this is important? Because not all projects, they are close to you. And you just, for example, you live in Abu Dhabi and you go to Sharjah. And for this project, you think, I will go just one time, set up and go away. Of course not. Of course, client will ask you like, why is this lamp not working? And you will need to check, and then you will see that some kind of a fan coil has some kind of a water leak, and this lamp is broken because of this water leak. And then another thing. So you will need to visit there, and you need to tell the client that there will be transport expenses. Because 10 times to go there and back, this is already a big part of your profit, actually, if this project is small. But you will need to do this. So you will need to tell client that there will be transport expenses, okay? And you will need to include some of these transport expenses in the beginning, even without service. Okay, so try not to forget all this. Now, important thing is that this quick calculation, all these quick calculations, they are quick by a reason. They are quick not because they are like magic. They are quick because they are simple and they have some general assumptions. Like, let's assume that client has this and that it will be controlled like this. So if we do not do it, we will have everything like very long and we will lose client. So we have general assumptions. Okay, so what kind of general assumptions in the quick calculation is? First assumption is that there is one control DB and all loads, like all lights, all curtains, everything is connected to this one control box. So this is general assumption because we cannot understand how many DBs will be really, or how many things we will need to control outside of DB. We cannot. So we will assume that there is only one. That is why it is quicker. So the next one is about dimming lights. Dimming lights is very important, and we assume that all dimmable groups, of course, use dimmable lights. Some clients, they do not know about this, so you count dimmers and then they connect non-dimmable lights and it's not working. So this is assumption. Next one is blind motors. They use 2 relay control. Actually, there are a lot of types of blind motors. Some types of blind motors, they require 4 relay control or 3 relay control, or sometimes they require RS485 control, or some of them require Wi-Fi connection. So we assume this to get it quicker. Next assumption is air conditioners are all fan coils, which is basically not true, of course. But this is most popular type of connection of air conditioners in GCC region. So in Dubai we have almost like most of air conditioners as fan coils. So it can be not like this, but we assume this. And next one is third-party devices are not included, but they will surely be needed. For example, switches, magnetic sensors, power supplies, they will be needed and you will need to count them on a project phase. If you do not have project phase, then maybe you forget about them. And then you understand that you need like 5 more power supplies for LED lighting or something like this. So just remember about this one. And there are more assumptions. I will not speak about all of them. For example, we could have a lot of devices which are controlled outside. And we assume this is not happening. So, for example, we could have small relays connecting to some kind of a floodlights. And this will be much better in this project. But we do not do it in quick calculation. The goal is to make it quick, not exact. Okay? So after this quick calculation is done, you can ask us to make this draft project. So this draft project is also done based on these assumptions. So we have draft project, and then you understand in each room like what is connected and what is happening, how many channels do you need. You see here R17, it means that it goes to R1 relay 7 channel number 7. So this will give you the general understanding of how this is connected, but once people see this, they understand that something is wrong. Sometimes you need more dBs, sometimes you need a lot of other things, and these are not included. That's why we do this draft project, so you, client and you understand things which you did not understand before. So this draft project is very important, and it gives you the understanding of what can be wrong and what should be changed in your quotation. Sometimes, not always. Okay, so then once the quick part is over, we go getting additional details. In the best solution, we get additional details doing the project. So we make the like the general task, like what do we need to do, and then we make the project and so on. So what we need to get in additional details, like what to investigate. First, how many control dBs are there for real? So there can be a villa with 3 floors, and it would be maybe better to have there 3 dBs on each floor, or maybe 6 dBs, 2 on each floor from 2 sides. So you would waste less cable, and you would get all the cable to this dB, and so the topology of our system gives you flexibility. You can have as many dBs as you want. You can have like 50 dBs, no problem. But how many control dBs you should understand, and you should discuss this with the designer, if designer is in the project, because designer will say, we have only this place, I'm sorry, but we can find you also this place there. So you will have 2 small dBs instead of 1 big. Okay, so how many control dBs is very important question, which you need to investigate before you have the final BOQ. And then exact specifications of all control devices. Sometimes we think that this is light, okay, and 5 of them we will just have on off, and 3 of them we will dim, and that's it, forget. Go to next challenge. And this is not working like this. You need to understand, if you dim something, you need to understand the power. You need to understand whether it's dimmable or not, like what do they really install there. Same goes to blind and motors connection. The schematics can be different. And same goes to AC. Sometimes AC is connected not like fan coil. Sometimes it is connected like VRF using integration controller. Sometimes it is connected differently and so on. So exact specifications of control devices. And we have this type of file, which I will show you now. This file is called the list of controlled device types. It will be mentioned later in the presentation, but I would like to show it to you on this stage. So you get this file, the list of controlled device types, and you have here inputs part, inputs here, outputs, and integrations. And the most important, you have here place to sign. You sign it yourself and your client signs it. So let's see what we have here. For example, these are not all devices, like we have, I don't know, maybe 200 light spots, but we have only 12 groups. So they are all the same. So we have 12 groups. How many groups? 12. And this is the description. Description is very, very important, because once you do not have this description, you cannot be sure what are you connecting to your system. And then the power. So you connect it to relay 16 amps control type. And then you know that up to 16 amps you can use it. And then you have dimmable spotlights. You connect it to DIN dimmer 230 volts. This is a control type for it. And you use 1 channel per group. Yes, so you will need 3 channels. And the power can be up to 500 watts, because you know this group power, because you understand from this description. Okay, and in this description you need to understand everything. Is it dimmable or not? Like what kind of, how many lamps in each group, and so on. Another thing you need to understand about dimmable groups, which are 230, is inrush current. For every light there is inrush current, and the light can be 5 watts, but inrush current can be like much more. So you can have a lot of problems if you do not think about this. And then LED strips. You connect it to box LED driver. Box means the small one, BW RGB. With amplifier, so third-party amplifier you connect to it. And you use 3 channels per group, because it is RGB, red, green, blue. And it is 12 volts and up to 300 watts it can be. So you press here and you have the description. And if you do not have it, you should have it. So for example, in this file, this one is empty. This is very bad, because these are LED dimmable chandeliers. They are controlled by DALI, and you do not have the description. And it is possible they are not controlled by DALI, they are just named DALI because of the DALI, the painter, Salvador Dali. And they could be DALI 2, which is not supported inside our system yet. So it is very important to have this description for each output, for each input. Yes, for input we have, for example, push buttons. What is connection type for it? DIN drive input. So usually SW16 or maybe some kind of other. And then 1 channel per group. And then this type of push button. How many groups? 15. Okay. So now we understand that we need 15 inputs. Then we go to motion sensors. If they are not bus sensors like this one, 6-in-1, these motion sensors are maybe cheaper, so they will need inputs. But they are not going to dry input, they are going to RC12 input only. So you go. And integration. Integrations are not inputs and outputs. Integrations are more complex. That's why they are in separate part. So we need to integrate vacuum cleaner, and vacuum cleaner will be which one? This Samsung. So this is a link, and it should be connected using IFTTT. Okay. And then ventilation system. RS485, Modbus, system air, and this is the description of this system air. Okay, so once you have this file, you get most of the details already in place. But if you do not have this file, you are like blind. You just hope that it will work. So if you do not have this file, please use only this, like spotlights or relay control on off. Then it will be very easy. So blind motors use only 2-channel controlled, but not some kind of special ones. Okay. So this is it. You need to know exact specifications of controlled devices. What do we control not from DB? So some of the items we need to control locally, and we have local connection to some kind of lights, some kind of motors, some kind of windows, and so on. So we locally have the bus in this place, or maybe wireless connection, and we monitor it some kind of differently, not only through DB. Next question to investigate is which sensors client would like to use in rooms. And this is actually also important, because by default we offer for example motion sensors which connect to input, and which is cheaper, and which has motion, not motion, just this. But it is much better to use bus sensors for motion, and client would be able to react, not client, but the sensor would be able to react not only to a person but to pets, for example, to cats, dogs, and it could react differently. So which sensors clients would like to have to use in different rooms, this is usually not covered in this quick calculation. And next one is additional required jobs. Sometimes you need additional jobs. For example, you need additional programming. Let's say you want to connect pool controller. You have the pool, and the pool is controlled by its own automation. And you want all this automation to be included in our application. This is usually possible, and if this pool controller has Modbus connection, then you can include it, but you should include additional job. Sometimes $200, sometimes $400. It can cost different depending on how many functions would you like to get from the pool or to send to the pool. So you would like to control the temperature of the pool. Okay, this. And then you would like to monitor the temperature of the pool. And then you would like to monitor the level of these chemicals in the pool, and so on. So this is all possible, but it will require additional job. This job can be done by you, or this job can be done by our people who do this additional integration job. We have these contractors who can do it, and they tell the price only after we have the technical task. So do not forget that it could be required if you have something more complex. And yes, this is a list of devices and a little bit wrong place, but again, this is a very important list, which if you do this, you will have much less complications than if you do not have it. Okay, some advanced companies, they have the same but much more advanced, with a lot of additional things like electrical, like how do we power it, because nothing about from which dB does it take power in here, and many other things. So the more information in this file, the better. And then what you do is you do the final BOQ. So after you know all this, after you have this list, you can make much better BOQ than before. And final BOQ you should do manually. This is another file, the file number 3, manual specification, and this is actually done, prepared for you, specially to make it as final BOQ. So this one, manual specification. This does not have this table about rooms. You just include yourself devices by hand. So you make a copy. Then it, as usually, becomes editable. So what you do is you include main controller. For example, you want, I don't know, MetaForza. So you go to MetaForza, you include it, one. And then you understand MetaForza has inside quite a lot of things like motion sensors and so on. And then you know you need two BWACs. And you know you need some small relays. And you need some dimmers, remote, but not in the DB. And inside DB you need, for example, this dimmer, which is more powerful, and so on. So once you finish, you get to filter 0, okay. And then you have your own specification. You can also filter blanks. This will be your specification. Then you include your logo, you include your description and everything, and you download PDF. So you share the PDF with the client. Okay, so this is pretty much it. Once again, we do the quick BOQ. Sometimes we can get money with it, but warn client that it can be changed, sometimes 30%, sometimes 20%. It can be different. And then we investigate additional things. We make the file, and then we do the final BOQ, and then get some more money if it is needed. And client should understand it on every stage of the project. Here are our managers to help you, Yegor and Gulam. They are now in small vacation for Eid, but it will be they will be back in the beginning of July, but remotely they can help you even now. This is it. This is our Instagram and Telegram, you already know. Question answer time. If you have questions, you can ask. I see the question, is it possible to share this PowerPoint file? Mr. Ahmed, we can do this. You should ask these guys, Yegor or Gulam, with whom you are working with. So we will be able to share it for sure. I have here some KNX devices I wanted to show you. So preparing a new video for about how to connect KNX panels and how to use it. Next Saturday we are probably not having this webinar because of the celebrations, so non-working days, and we will not run this webinar next week. But after next week we will probably have the webinar on lighting control in Larnitech. Okay, so it's good that you don't have questions, because probably this was too much information for you. Okay, so I hope you use it. Thank you very much for attending the webinar. Bye-bye.